think this would be kind of a good segue to start looking at VS Code extensions. So we have a couple that I was wanting to talk about. So Live Share, and then we'll probably skip over Live Share Spaces for today, but then we'll go into CodeTour, GuestPad, Live Share Whiteboard, and then Live Share Chat. So Jonathan, why don't you create the environment, and then we'll let others join into this as well. So they can actually, instead of like looking completely at our screens, maybe they can kind of interact with it live as well.
Yeah, so I guess playing kind of the narrative forward a little bit, we were just talking about, like with VS Online, it's really about making setup easier, your environments to be accessible from anywhere, and making collaboration amongst the team improved from the perspective of saying if you're working on the same code base, then you're going to be working in the same environment that's really a function of that code base too. That said, at the end of the day, right, there's always times where you want to work with someone in real time, whether it's pair programming, whether it's mentoring, whether you just have a quick question. I don't know about other people, but I have this all the time where I've been looking at a line of code forever and I'm not getting it, and I just kind of need to get unblocked with some help. And so for that, right, another thing that my team has been working on for a couple of years is this service called Live Share. And really what Live Share is it's an extension for VS and VS Code that turns the entire editor or IDE into a fully collaborative environment so that two or more people can work together, but they can retain their existing setup, right? So you and I probably have different color themes.
Oh, yes.
We have different font sizes. I don't know if we're running on the same operating system. And so the thing that we've heard in the past with folks that maybe have used screen sharing for doing pair programming or collaboration is that fundamentally everybody's looking at the world through the lens of one person. Right now I'm screen sharing, and so people get to stare at my screen and my font sizes and all that. And that's fine, but collaboration needs to happen all the time. And so for that to be more efficient and enjoyable, it really doesn't make any sense to have to sacrifice the setup you've done in order to work. So that said, let's say I'm working in this code base and I've got this error squiggle on line 25 that I'm just really not sure what it means. Somebody went ahead and installed ESLint on the code base, and maybe that was a good idea, maybe it wasn't, who knows, but I want to get help from you. And so with Live Share, what I can do is at any point in working, there's this status bar item down here called Live Share. I'm going to click that. What it's going to do is give me a link that I can share with anyone and allow them to connect to my environment. So let me jump over to Skype and share this with you, Michael.
Excellent.
And after I've installed Live Share, there's a tab on the left side in VS Code. In Visual Studio, there's a tool window as well that provides the same capabilities. And basically what's going to happen when you click that link that I sent you is it's going to give you the choice to join into the session that I'm currently hosting through either Visual Studio Code, or a browser-based client. That way it gives you as a guest, that's the terminology we kind of use as the host and the guest, it gives you the choice to decide which kind of client or environment is more effective for you. Now might be a good time as you're joining if you want to share your screen too, so folks can kind of see what that process looks like as you're joining.
Yes, absolutely. So, voila, my screen is sharing. I'm just going to click on this link. So you see it's starting to pop up. As you see, it does say joining collaboration session joined. Whoa, there I see Mr. Jonathan Carter and his mouse cursor that's currently moving. So you're seeing my screen from my perspective. One of the things that I was also going to kind of show you here is that if you want to take a super quick look at Jonathan's screen, thankfully I'll be able to switch back and forth.
We got somebody else who joined in too. G. Suddy.
Yes. Oh, I see that. So this is currently, this is Jonathan's screen. And so let's go ahead and let's switch back over to my screen. Okay. So I see your cursor. We have a person that's joined in. Other people that want to join in, just make sure you got VS Code or VS Visual Studio Online, just like Jonathan was saying, all the different IDEs or editors, and then click on that link and join up. That way you'll be, we can kind of explore some of this like together. Hello from LabShare. Okay, this is already cool. You totally are going to have to talk about this real quick, what you're doing here.
Yeah, I mean, so basically, when I shared, what didn't happen is there was no uploading of any of my code to the cloud. There was no creation of cloud infrastructure in order for me and Michael and G Study to be collaborating. What happened is basically my machine is now acting as a server to provide guests in my session the ability to remotely pool context as needed. And so once Michael joined, what he did is it connected to me and said, give me the contents of the file that Jonathan had open. And then as I'm moving my mouse cursor and making text highlights, and actually even as I scroll, you should see me scrolling the file,
I
Michael.
do. Yes, I
Um,
do.
it's sending just the minimum amount of information to Michael so that he can follow along with me. And in fact, if I move to a different file, let me jump to gridarrow.js,
Yep.
and I can see, Michael, you're following along with me. I'm going to move to emoji. And so we're in this mode where you and I are able to remain in the exact setup of our editor that we like, that we love, right? Because developers spend hours doing it. But yet we retain all of the context of the project or the task we want to work on. And so we jokingly refer to that as we're sharing context, not screen. And so that said, beyond just kind of file contents, etc., is also it's fully collaborative editing. And so I'm going to start just typing something. I'm guessing you're seeing that on your
Yes, I
side.
am. Active signatures.
And so do me a favor and you type active signatures on line 29 or do something.
Gotcha. So I am on my screen. I'm scrolling down. Oh, you've already got it right there placed.
Yeah.
So I am typing active signatures, and then I'll do a dot here and push. At least you
Yeah.
can see the typing.
Yeah. So I mean, you should have seen the completion list come up
I
when you type.
did.
And so one thing that's worth calling out about that is all of the language support and extension support that you're getting is coming from my machine, right? And so do you also see the red squiggle on line 25?
I do see that.
And we got Nathan in here too. The reason that you're seeing that squiggle is because I have the ESLint extension installed. And so even if you didn't have it installed, it wouldn't matter because basically your editor is requesting from me, hey, what errors exist in this file? And the reason that that's powerful is just like we were talking about with VS Online, where we want to fundamentally reduce setup with live share, it allows you to collaborate with me without having to set up anything at all. So this isn't like me pushing commits to Git and you syncing it and trying to replicate my problem. But it's also not screen sharing because you and I are fundamentally living in two different visual worlds. We're just working on the same code base together.
Exactly. And so you were on a Mac. I'm over here. I'm on a Windows, a machine where it's working like flawlessly between the two. And one of the other things is that, when I typed in active signatures dot, just like you were saying, this is the intel or the dot notation. What's after that is it's coming in from what you've previously installed. I also noticed there was a little star. Now, I think I know what that star is when it popped up the different types of like methods and types. Can you
Mhm.
tell us what that is?
Yeah, that's actually another good example
Okay, awesome.
of what we were just talking about, where so I have the IntelliCode extension installed on my machine, which auto suggests the completion items that I'm most likely to use based on us having trained an AI model on thousands of GitHub repos. And so because you're typing in the code base that I've shared, you get automatically the IntelliCode functionality as well, even though you haven't installed it. And so that's kind of actually another example of how LiveShare enables my context to be made available to you, even though you're in a totally different environment.
Awesome.
So yeah, beyond files and co-editing, I just popped up a terminal, which you should now see on your machine. And so what this illustrates is that LiveShare, a lot of times when people first see it, they kind of say, oh, it's like Google Docs for code, which is kind of true. But the thing about collaboration on documents is that it's fairly simplified and it's really just about editing text, right? Whereas when developers are collaborating, there's so much more to the kind of end to end of working on an application than just text. One of those things being terminals, right? And so in this case, if I need to work with you and I'm like, hey, I think the tests are failing. Oh, wait, hold on, let me do something real quick. Um,
No hands typing, folks.
yeah, yeah. Um, so I'm going to say npm run test. And this is really important that you see this because maybe the thing I need help with is that one of the tests is failing. And so here, as I'm typing terminal commands as I would otherwise do when working by myself, you immediately see the output too. And so we're able to work on effectively the same thing. Now, that said, taking that same process further beyond editing and terminal, let me run the application. So I'll run npm run start. You should be seeing that.
Yes, I do. Starting the development server.
Yep. And in fact, so here, on my side, I can see the guestbook application. Now, if you go to the live share tab, underneath shared servers, you should now see something that's called localhost 3000.
I do, and I am sharing that window right now. I've opened it up in the browser.
And so do you see the live share guest book and it animating pictures of random people?
I do. I see that. I got to add mine in there at some point.
Yeah, we'll get you in there, man. So what's happening is you and I, when you joined my live share session, we established a secure end-to-end SSH connection between each other. And when I spun up a server, it made that server available to you by means of proxying that over to me over that same shared connection, which is beneficial because if you and I are collaborating on a web application like we are now, there wouldn't be a very effective way for you to help me if you could not also see the application, right?
Exactly. Yeah, because sometimes you just got to see it, and normally, you would start up another
Yeah.
huge instance of like, okay, let's all jump on Teams or let's jump on some other platform and
Yeah.
share it from there. All right, so let's go ahead and move forward, talking a little bit
Yeah.
about debugging.
Yeah, I was just gonna basically show, so on my end, I started the debugger, I set a breakpoint, and as soon as I did that, it should have automatically put you into debug mode on the exact same breakpoint as me.
It
Um,
did.
and you should be able to explore the variables in the call stack. And in fact, if you want to run the continue button to kind of move us beyond this, you can do that, which is pretty cool, right? Because going back to the comment about live share being much more than just quote unquote Google Docs for code, what we're doing here is collaborating on file edits. We are collaborating on terminal output. We're collaborating on localhost servers that are running on my machine but accessible to you. We're collaborating on a live debugging session as if you and I are working on the same thing
Yeah.
locally, but we're in two different environments.
I hit the continue. We just got kind of like highlighted over the variables and the call
Yeah.
stack and some of those other things.
Yep. So I don't know, Michael, if you go back to the live share tree and pop up the chat channel, we should then be able to also show that in addition to live share enabling the core editor experience to be collaborative, it also provides text and audio chat for us to communicate within the group to each other.
What I am doing is that I just sent Nathan a hello from my screen where we're connected together. And what I also noticed was now that I've got some contacts in here, I could take one of my existing contacts and just send them like the invite by email. Or again, I can go in and I can select invite contact.
Correct. Yeah.
Um, I think that's really cool. Nathan, can you like say hi back or something? And that way, I don't know, just kind of like clearing it out. Okay, thank you so much, Nathan. I don't know, for some reason, it's like for me, I gotta like see it.
Yeah,
Awesome. And
yeah.
then the other thing that I was gonna say that we didn't talk about when there is another file. So right now I am inside of guestbook.grid and I am looking around. But let's just say I have JC with me and JC is like, hey, you know what? We're in this together. You can reset the context of where I'm currently at on my screen to the exact line, position, file, character of yours. Can you just do a quick like demo of that?
Yeah, yeah. Besides the ability for everyone in the session to retain their own visual and kind of ergonomic setup while collaborating, one of the other kind of key unique benefits of live share is the fact that you and I can work on the same thing or on independent things depending on the task we're trying to do. So yeah, I'm off in emoji.js. You said you're in guestbook grid. And the powerful thing about that is that unlike screen sharing, we're not kind of like mentally serialized, right? And so you and I could be collaborating, but you might say, oh, I want to go explore something real fast, but you don't want to disrupt me in order to do it. We're currently working in that state. But to your question, if oh, hey, Michael, I figured out the problem, I see exactly what it is, I can perform what's called a focus gesture, which is going to pull your attention to where I'm at. And so that way, that gives us the ability to work together, work independently. You could choose to jump to where I'm at any point. You and I can then choose to focus each other at any given point. And so we have kind of that, in some ways, multimodal experience of kind of working based on the way that makes sense for the task at hand.
Let's see. And the other thing is that yes, this does work with Visual Studio as well. Actually, I had Visual Studio up last night because I did that session on there. And so if I pull open like Visual Studio right now, I have completely updated. It's probably like the first time ever that I actually have everything updated. So let's don't recover that. I'm inside of Visual Studio 29. And let's see here. I think I can just go to, on the main screen. I don't think I've done that in a while. Let's just go continue without code. Let's go into our Visual Studio instance. I can go file. And so right here, it does say join live share a session. So you
Mhm.
can select that. I can take that URL that was pasted in there that was shared out by Jonathan. That is not the link. It automatically pulled in the one from the VS Code extension. So you can see here now it actually says this is a valid link. I'm inside of VS 2019. Oh, and look kind of right here. This is kind of cool. So read only shared terminal for guestbook bash is started. So this is pretty cool. Oh, and looky there. Mr. Carter is typing a little bit in there. You can see that again completely from Visual Studio. I'm in VS Code on a Mac. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And here we are over here on our side on a Windows. And so that context where Jonathan had directed me towards, you can see right now I'm in the file, the emoji file. There is Jonathan's mouse cursor kind of moving from there.
Yeah, so then, I think to close it out, now once you're done with the collaboration session, I'm going to end it.
Yep,
And on your side, you should get a notification saying that we're done.
I did.
And when you accept that, it's going to refresh your VS or VS Code, and your machine is in the exact same state that it was before you joined. It's kind of like we're just connecting our context together through the window of our own world.
Yeah, and so one thing here is